What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of my podcast, Emotional Expression. Today I am joined by my friend Hannah. I met her through TikTok. I decided to interview her because her story to me is very impactful. Hannah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Hannah, and also known as Blind and Bored, which is my TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. I'm on all the things as Blind and Bored. And I started losing my vision in about the year 2020, and I started making videos. I think 2023, the beginning of
What would you
2023.
say that made you want to make the videos? What would you say influenced you?
I think at first it was like I was trying to find something to occupy my time because I literally was kind of bored. So I kind of just started it for fun. But I also think I started it because I had kind of gone into a pretty deep depression, as one does when you're losing your vision. And I think it was my way of trying to pull myself out of it. And I make jokes about it and stuff. I have kind of a dark sense of humor, I think. So, like, if I kind of make fun of it, then it was just my way of kind of coping and having people relate to me, which I really, really needed at the time because, it was a new thing that I was going through.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I think for me as well, like, I make jokes about my disability all the time, and sometimes people are very caught off guard, but the thing is, I feel like it's important to make jokes about your, disability, because it's something you're going to live with for, either for the rest of your life or even life-altering, like you said, because you started to lose your vision in 2020. So I think it's important to, try to make light of the situation the best that you can.
Yeah, it really is my coping mechanism. It's just kind of how I function, and it's worked for me. So, and also I think something about making the videos is a little bit of my own therapy, I guess, kind of trying to work through each problem. I'll sometimes talk seriously about it, but then other times I'll just take a new challenge and then make a joke about it or make a little skit about it or something. So I find it fun.
What would you say that your best skit is? Like, what would you say?
Oh, that's hard. I like doing ones about my kids, like parenting ones, because it is tricky being blind and parenting, and I have 4 kids. So whenever I make jokes about those ones, I think are usually my personal favorite.
Nice. What would you say, like, the hardest part about having your disability is? Because I know for me, I was born with a physical disability. So what would
Mm-hmm.
you say, going into it, what would you say the hardest part was?
I think losing any sense of independence, feeling like I needed to be taken care of. I think that mentally that's probably been the hardest thing to get over. Now, I have always had a visual impairment, so I've actually never been able to drive, but I could see way more than I can now. So my vision went from like 2200. I was kind of just beyond the legally blind mark, and then it just started going from there. So now I'm almost completely blind. I can barely see anything. And so looking back, I wish I could go back to that vision, because I kind of made peace with the not being able to drive thing, but I still was able to do things on my own all the time. And now, yeah, that's been a hard transition.
I would say for me, it's not necessarily losing independence, but it's gaining independence. Because as a person who was born with a physical disability, I would say, like, gaining independence has been difficult because you have to adjust to all these different ways. And that, to be honest, I commend you, because I can't imagine having independence and then having to lose it. It's like having to restart your life, like.
It is. It's exactly that. And I'd like to get to that point, because I know a lot of blind people are extremely independent, and I admire them so much. And I'm still in the middle of this process. So the thought of being able to go to a store by myself and try to guide myself somewhere, like, that's terrifying to me. But I'm still in the middle of this process of, like, learning how to do these things. And I am eager to get to that point of getting back that kind of independence. I know it'll happen eventually. I'm just not there yet,
You just know that you have to set milestones, because at the end of the day, that's all we could do at the end of the day, right? So I think, to be honest, it's all about setting milestones and knowing what you can and can't do. And,
Yes, and just even little things. This sounds so like silly, but again, I'm still in the beginning kind of stages of this, of like learning how to be blind. I set a goal of I really want to take a walk by myself, but I'm really scared to. And I'm just so used to being guided by people that, just the thought of being alone and not being able to see anything. And what if I actually walk into something that's embarrassing? What if I walk into the street I don't know. I just have all these fears, but it's my next milestone. It's just something as simple as I'd like to be able to walk around the block by myself. That would be fun.
Yes, I think it's important for everybody to set milestones, especially when you're going through what you went through, like not being blind and then being blind. I think
Yes, yeah.
your milestones are perfectly okay for you, and I think like the thing that people with disabilities struggle with the most is maybe wanting too much. At least for me, like sometimes I
Yes.
think I want too much, but I think that I have less. But I think people also need to learn that it's okay to meet it in the middle. And I say that confidently, but it's something that I'm still struggling with as a 20-year-old. So I think it's important to meet milestones in the middle and
Yeah.
know that it's not the end of the world if you don't reach them, but it's important to have them. Is there any advice you would want to give to somebody who is blind, who is going through the same thing that you're going through right now?
Yeah, I say I would, give yourself a lot of grace, because I realize that going through this process, it's, especially dealing with depression and stuff like that, it's something that you're never going to fully get over. You have to go through, and you have to go through the grieving process, and it definitely is a process. And if you try to just, jump over aspects, it'll creep up back to you later. So allow yourself to have the days where you want to stay in bed and cry. That's okay, because you kind of need those days sometimes. And I definitely needed them myself, and I still have them sometimes. Certain days that I'm like, you know what, I don't want to do today. I'm having a bad day, and I just gonna stay in bed today. And
Yes.
just giving myself that space to be able to do that, and sometimes being angry about it. Like, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be upset about it. And I think for the most part, us people with disabilities, like, we have to be so positive all the time, and we have to be this, quote, inspiration, and feeling that pressure of that. But sometimes you don't want to be, and that's okay. I have to keep telling myself that.
Yes, going back to what you said about being the inspiration, I think it's also a lot of pressure to be the inspiration because people want to see
Mhm.
you be inspiring all the time and knowing that you can do it. But sometimes, especially for me, like being in a wheelchair, I see it all the time. People are like, "You're an inspiration," and then I have those days where it's like, "But I don't want to be like an inspiration, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
I just want to be me. Like I want to be sad. I want to make a sad video, a sad song, and just
Yep.
go on about my day. I don't want to be an inspiration because there's times where I don't feel inspired by anything.
Oh, totally. And
So,
my videos for the most part are humor, because that's what I do. But every now and then I have a sad video. I have one where I'm crying. I have one where I'm angry. And I want to make sure people know that there's another side to this. I'm not going around making jokes about this constantly. I
yes.
can be a serious person, and sometimes, I'm having a bad day and I'm pissed off,
I remember when I started doing my TikToks and doing really well before the algorithm switched. Now I'm
Mhm.
doing okay, but I used to do like really, really well. I made a video, and one person is like, "Are you ever gonna make a happy video?" And I'm like, "Well, if you scroll through my videos, you'll see that a lot of my videos are happy. Today's just a
Mhm.
day where you saw me, like, you saw me venting, and I think that's completely okay, you know."
Oh yeah. Well, and I had somebody comment like, "Well, why are you crying on the internet?" I was like, "Well, you know what? It's my TikTok. If I want to cry on it, then I'm gonna I'm gonna do that."
Exactly. That's exactly my point. Like, you don't have to watch. You could skip
Yeah,
it.
you keep scrolling. It's totally fine.
You could literally block it. Like, you don't have to
Exactly.
watch it. But I think the things that people struggle with is like seeing that, or they don't want to see it, or they think that we're too like, we we have it easier because we have disabilities, and that's just not true.
Oh, yeah.
If anything, it's a lot harder. And I think the stereotypes that go around is that people with disabilities are inspirational, even if they're not like trying to be. And I also think that
Mhm.
people with disabilities, like you said, put too much pressure on themselves, but at the same time, it's hard not to. So
Oh yeah,
it's like a fighting battle, you know?
yes, exactly. Because in the grand scheme, people do they end up feeling a little bit better about their lives, I think, in general. So it's like, wow, well, if they can do that while having a disability, well, then maybe my life's not that hard. And that's okay. And if any of my videos make anyone feel that way, well, then great. I feel like I'm helping somebody in a different way. I want to feel like I'm helping people with the same disability that I have, but also if I'm helping any sighted people with feeling like, oh, hey, my life is not that bad. At least I'm not blind. Well, sure, that's okay. That's fine. You
Trust
can
me,
feel that way too.
you're definitely helping your community, but you're also helping the disability community in general. Because when
Oh,
I saw your
thank
videos, like, it made me feel better. That's why I wanted to invite you on today. Because, like, speaking to you, like, you know, because I'm young, so I still got a lot more people to meet with disabilities.
you.
And, like,
Yeah,
I feel like speaking to you is very, eye catching because it's like, oh, I'm learning from this person, I'm learning from that person, you know?
I completely agree. I started following any disabled person that I found on TikTok.
Anybody you saw, just
Yeah, I'm
follow,
just
because
gonna
you
follow
never
you because
know.
you're gonna be interesting. I know at some point I'm gonna learn something from you, and I do. I love that.
Exactly. Like, I just want to learn from different people, different life experiences, and I know that they have things that I have, or they don't have things that I have, but I still want to learn from them.
Completely.
You know. Um, I think it's important to have a role model. What would you say inspired you the most to, like, keep going throughout your years of having this disability?
Well, the probably the sentimental answer is that like during this process while I was losing my vision, my mom had cancer, so I was also grieving the loss of her, and she passed away. But she was a therapist, so that was a massive thing for me, of that, like, knowing when you're going through a hard time, it's really good to talk it out. And I always had her in my brain, so I started the videos after she had already passed. And I think I had her in my brain saying, you're going through this, you need to be able to talk it out. In whatever way, you're going to do that. And I think that was a huge inspiration for me. And I always kind of have her in the back of my head, like, as my conscience telling me, like, you're having a bad day. Well, you need to tell somebody about it. You need to talk it out, or make a video about it or something. But then I also would say, before I started really losing my sight, I started following a blind creator called, her name is Molly Burke. And she's been kind of like, she was one of the OG, I think, of blind creators. And she really likes makeup and fashion, and I just absolutely loved her. And she really made me feel not alone as a woman, and wanting to do my hair, wanting to do my makeup, but I couldn't see it
Yeah,
anymore, and I wanted to still be normal. And she really, like, helped me get through that process too.
I think for me, like, as far as creators that you follow, I follow this couple. Their names are Shane and Hannah, and they're actually an interabled couple on
Oh, cool.
YouTube. The
Mm-hmm.
guy has muscular dystrophy, but like a more not muscular dystrophy. I think it was AMS, but it's something else that, like, makes your body different. Like, the body's bigger than the head. I kind of forgot the name. I'm
Mm-hmm.
drawing a blank, but I follow them for, like, inspiration, because it's a life that I hope to live or want to live someday. Like, literally, they
Yeah.
travel everywhere, and he
Oh,
talks a lot.
exactly.
He talks a lot about his disability. So I would say for me, like, watching that stuff also inspired me.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like Molly travels all over the place, and she does, like, you know, she's a spokesperson and stuff like that. I would love to one day be that. That would be very, very cool. She
Same, me too.
definitely inspires me.
Like, I feel like for me and you, like, we're both very small, but I feel like we want the same as far as being
Yes.
creators. I hope to someday speak at engagements. Maybe we can
Yes.
even work together someday. Like, I don't know, but
Oh, I would love that.
I know that I want to do it someday.
Yes,
Well,
definitely. Me too.
speaking of someday, going into someday, what would you say your plans are for the future? Like, with your TikTok, with your with anything you want to do in your life, what would you say your plans are for the foreseeable future?
I am kind of still winging it at the moment. Like I'm having a good time doing the TikToks, and every positive feedback I get just like drives me to keep doing it. I do try to stick to the mindset of like I'm still doing this for myself, so like don't lose sight of that. Um, because it's not all about like followers, because you may never get a lot of followers, and I always think that's a good possibility. Like I may just stay at where I'm at right now, and that's okay. The little amount of followers I have, I'm okay with that too. But I also every now and then I have like been on podcasts and stuff like that, and I've spoken to a couple of groups. My mother-in-law is in charge of the Lions Club, and in November I'm going to be speaking to that group for the second time about being blind. And I've enjoyed doing those things, so I would really like to keep on that path and doing more, and just hoping more opportunities just kind of come my way in that kind of way.
I completely understand that. I think, like you said, you're just hoping for more opportunities. You're not really focused on the number or the views.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, when I first blew up on TikTok, bro, my generation is all about likes, and I was just like, oh my god, I freaking blew up on TikTok. I was going crazy. Because it's been my dream for a while to, like, have a video. Because I've been doing videos since I was 11 years old. Not always
Oh, wow.
about my disability, but, like, just in general. Like, doing
Mm-hmm.
goofy videos online and stuff like that. So my dream was always to blow up. And when I started to go down, I'm just like, what happened to the views? But I don't think it's not about the views for me anymore. It's just about spreading the right message to the right
Exactly.
people. And if I could
Well,
change
and
one,
also, do you notice too of like that? I just follow some people that are up into like the 100,000 followers and stuff, and they get a lot of really bad comments. I'm like, I'd have
yeah,
to really be able to mentally deal with that. I mean, and I get some random mean comments, but it's only like one a month or something like that. I'll get some nasty comment that's probably from a kid or something. But like these other people, they're getting like nasty comments all the time. I'm like, why?
yep. I think as you get bigger, people want to judge you based on what they see, and they don't know
Yes,
everything. You know, they just want to
exactly.
judge because they have no life, and it's just they want to just sit there and type on their computer, or type on their phone, like what they.
Exactly. And I guess you have to take the good with the bad. If you get more of a following, then the trolls are going to come out, and so it's like it's exciting and horrible at the same time. So
What would you say to anybody that's like like let's say somebody my age, 20 years old, right? And
Mhm.
they're blind and they don't want to be blind, like they're having a hard time really dealing with being blind at a young age. What would you say to those people?
I mean, like I said, the grieving process, and it's like, making sure you allow yourself to go through that grieving process, because it is one step at a time. You don't just like magically know how to be blind. It's a process. You have to learn the skills, and I'm still learning the skills. And we're going on now 4 years, and me at this point now being almost completely blind. And I probably will be completely blind a year from now. But it's been a slow process of all the gadgets, and I don't know how to read Braille yet. I'm still working on my cane skills. I can't, like I said, I can't even go for a walk by myself. I'm still not there yet, and it is a process, and it's okay for that process to happen. Don't expect to be magically like the smartest blind person ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me, like having a disability, is knowing that like you're not going to be able to do everything. Like you
Yeah.
can't do everything, and you might not be able to hang out with the people you want to right away, or you know you might have
Yes.
to plan things differently. But I think it's okay to you know go through that process like you said, because it is a very long one, and it's a very heartfelt process, very emotional, very angry process.
Yes. Well,
That's
that
just
was
gonna come.
another aspect of the videos, of trying to make sure people could relate to me,
Yeah.
because this is a learning process for everyone around too. Like, they didn't know me as a blind person needing to be guided with a cane, that kind of thing. So, some people, they didn't know how to interact with me. They didn't know what I needed help with, but I was still learning that too. So it's been a learning process for everybody involved. So I'd say also give grace to people around you, that they may not know how to interact with you the same if it is, a new disability, or new people that you meet. They may have never met a disabled person in their entire life, and they literally do not know how to react to it, or they don't know how to interact. And people get weird,
Yes.
you know?
No, people get very weird because
Yeah.
Trust me, I've dealt with it in school throughout my whole life, or even a
Yeah.
girl that I like. Like, people just get very weird with the whole disability thing and having one.
Yep.
And sometimes I'm just like, either accept my disability for what it is or just,
Yes.
don't see me as different. But, I think it's hard for people to because they're not exactly educated.
No, they're definitely not. No one is. Yeah.
And I think like the school system should educate, but at the same time,
I agree.
you could ask the school system to do anything and they won't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the aspect of, having four kids, is that there's a lot of things I can't do as a blind mom. There's a lot of things that I used to do that I can't do anymore. But I keep trying to look at the positive of, I think that I'm teaching my kids how to be empathetic human beings. And
Yes.
in the grand scheme, they're learning a lot more about disabilities than any other kid does. So hopefully
Absolutely,
that'll make them good
absolutely,
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
How did I got a few more questions, but how did your kids react to like you going blind or you needing more help? Like, did they react to that in a positive way or more of like in a concerned way?
My two oldest probably had the hardest time with it because they're teenagers and they remember all the things that I could do before. So I
Yes.
think it's been a more of a difficult transition. But then my two younger ones, my youngest probably will never remember a time that I could see things. And then the one above probably was even too young too. So they probably will only ever remember their mother as being blind. But I know my two oldest, there's a whole other life. I used to volunteer at their school. I also used to be a professional photographer, and I took a million pictures of them. So I think they'll have a completely different memory of the things that I used to do that I can't do anymore. But they've also been really helpful through the whole process, and very understanding, and understanding how difficult it is for me. Because again, I think the younger ones, they don't really understand that I went from being able to see things to then not. So then they're probably more like, well, what's your problem? But my oldest will, like, they saw the transition, so they could see how difficult of a transition it was.
Yes, I like I said, when I found your TikTok and I was like, oh, she just went blind. Like, this is not something that, she was
Hmm.
born with right away. I was like, she just went blind. I was like, definitely, because me and my friends talk about it all the time. Like, what's harder, having the disability, or
Yeah.
being knowing that you don't have a disability, but then you have to learn how to live with a disability.
Oh yeah.
It's very, it's
People
re-
have asked me a million times, like, what is it better to be born blind or then go blind later? And I've gone back on that so many times of which one I think would be better. Because sometimes I wish I was born completely blind, and then I could have just learned these
me.
skills from the very
Yep.
beginning. But then
Hmm.
also sometimes I'm like, well, I like that I remember what things look like. So when people describe things to me, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I got the general idea of what that looks like because I have seen one before. So, there's like good to bad to all of it, I think.
Me and my friends say the same thing because I'm like, because for CP, like, there's lower functioning disabilities, meaning like
Mhm.
they can't comprehend things the same, or they can't live the same life that I'm living, like verbally communicating. Or there's high functioning, where we understand all of our emotions and we understand like what's around us. We sometimes say like, what is better, but like, I think it's hard to say because like, you know, even the lower functioning people might have a harder time on some days.
Yes,
So
yeah.
it's hard to really choose what disability could be better. Obviously, nobody wants to have a disability, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah,
It's
and
not.
the fact that anyone could become disabled at any point, and I try to remind people of that it's like, disabled people are often treated as other. And that's not good because anyone
Yes,
can become disabled
absolutely.
at any point, and you don't want people around you to suddenly treat you like an alien. So don't treat
Well,
other people that way.
yes, that was my whole point because anybody could become disabled at any point.
Hmm.
The guy playing basketball in college could get hit by like anything
Yeah,
could happen. So
exactly.
I think that's important for people to remember that anybody could become disabled at any point, and not to like, judge right away or think you know how to interact with them right away, because to
Yes.
be honest, we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything else you want to say to people out there?
Um, no, I'm drawing a blank now. Follow me. That'd be cool.
Yeah, definitely follow Hannah because she definitely like her videos are definitely inspiring, funny, sad, and hilarious all in the same sentence, because I definitely watch a lot of them when I see them on TikTok. And I think, like I said, you definitely inspire me because I can't imagine not having a disability and then having a disability. So I
Thank
think
you so much.
that's what really like pushes me to keep going, because I already had the disability,
Yeah.
and like
Uh,
to see you just laugh at it, I'm just like, bro, what am I doing wrong?
well, I'm also trying to record the process. So from when I started the videos, I could see a lot more than I do now. Um, so that's going to be interesting for, I think, my kids or family to look back on of the process that I went through. And I randomly do updates on like, well, what do I see now? And I think I'm due for one soon. I probably should do another update on that. And some videos that I made back, a year ago, I don't think I could do now because I can't see as much as I could see a year ago. So
One last question, like, do you have any work that you're doing, like professionally or anything like that right
not
now?
currently, no. I used to be a photographer. I used to be a painter. I went to college for art. So that was quite a hard thing to like give up. But the more I talk to people, other blind people that are still doing these things, I'm like, I really want to get back to doing some kind of art or painting or something. And I just have to do it differently. I have to figure out a different way
Yes.
to do it and not compare to what I did before. Because that's the hard thing. It's like, well, I want to do it the way I did it before. And I was a photographer for 13 years. I had my own business, and I can't do that anymore, not the way I did it. And I used to paint somewhat realistic things. I can't do that anymore. But I really, really want to get back to those things because I do really miss art.
Yes, I think for me, like, being in college at the age I'm at now, like, I'm excited to be in college, because when I was in
Hmm.
high school, it was like I was in special ed, so it was a real big learning curve for me. I want to become a social worker, actually,
Oh, wow.
in like a school, not necessarily for people with disabilities. Like, I'll still help people with disabilities, but I just want to
Hmm.
be a social worker in general, because I think a big part of me having a disability is definitely my anxiety and wanting to do things at a certain time, or having plans and having them get
Hmm.
ruined by something. So I think that's been the hardest part for me overall. And like hearing what you said, like, just give it time and you will get there. I think that's very important.
Have you had any difficulty in college with your professors accommodating you or anything? Because
Not
I
yet.
had a lot of trouble with that.
No. So my accommodations are pretty basic. Like, I don't need that much accommodating.
Hmm.
So like I do get extra time on test, like an extra hour or like anything like that. And I've heard people say they have trouble, but I haven't had trouble yet. So
Oh, well, that's good. At the time when I was in college, I didn't have great vision. It wasn't obviously as bad as it is now. I didn't use a cane or anything, but I had asked my professors, like, if you write something on the board, could you write it on a piece of paper for me? Because I can't see the board. And I had teachers flat out say no. Nope, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, I don't think you're allowed to say you're not going to do it, but I
yes,
was so
exactly.
like scared to like fight back. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I tell my mom, and she's like, they can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm not going to fight with my professor about it.
Dang. I'm
Yeah, it
glad
was
you
awkward.
you still went through college, all right? You still were able to get
Yeah,
to that's good too. You didn't let that
yeah.
like deter you from getting the degree. That's what
Yeah,
I
that was probably the hardest thing I ever did is going to college. It was a lot to deal with at the time, but yeah, I managed it.
That's what I'm very nervous about. Like, I don't want to have that professor that's like No, we can't accommodate you. I haven't had that yet, but we'll see.
Good.
I hope never to have that, to be honest,
I
but
know. I hope you never have to deal with that.
never say never, never say never.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna I'm gonna let you go after I ask this one last question.
no problem.
What would you say, you know, inspirational quote for anybody that's like dealing with their disability? Like, how would you describe like the way your family takes care of you and the way that people with disabilities like have to perceive life based on their environment, if that makes any sense?
Um, I'd say humans are really, really amazing, and we adapt so well. And it may take a while for it to happen, but I just really believe in that, and I think anyone can adapt to anything. And no matter how many times you think I could never do that, I could never live that, I could never, yes, you can, because you do it when you have to. You don't have an option. So that's your life. And I mean, you see in just the Paralympics and everything, like you can do amazing things. You just adapt to the limitations you have. And I have to feel like I keep reminding people that just because I can't see does not mean I can't hear. I can feel, I can touch, I can absorb the world in a different way. And that's something that I tell myself all the time of like, it's not all about one sense that you're missing. And yeah, that it's a bummer to go through it. But
Hmm.
once you settle with it, it's like you can still live an amazing life with missing something or, adapting to any disability. There's so much more life to be lived after that.
That's the thing. I think that certain people not only think we're motivating, but also live a very um sad life. Like I've gotten comments saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "What are you sorry
Yeah,
for?" Like that's not what I made the video for. I didn't make the video for you to say sorry. I made the video so
that's the
that
number one thing people say is, oh, I'm so sorry.
so,
And I'm like, and I understand the sentiment, but like, after the millionth time you hear that, you're like, I'm not as sad about it as you are at this point. So,
like I'm sorry too. Like I don't know what you
yeah,
want me to say for that. Like
exactly.
it's just life at the end of the day. Like it's not that I'm not sorry. It's just that I choose not to be sorry about myself because it could have been a lot worse.
That's one of my videos too of it's like I like to freak other people out, the weird things people say to me, and one of them is, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and then I say, "Yeah, you should be. It's all your fault." And the look on someone's face, their
Yes.
blank stare of like, "What?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, I really just like messing with people."
But with that being said, Hannah, I really appreciate you joining me on this episode of Emotional Expression with JJ. It's been a while since I recorded. It's been like 7 months since I recorded for the podcast.
Oh,
Um, so I definitely appreciate you joining me on this podcast journey. I don't know where it's gonna go, but I just like to film these to make sure that people know that people with disabilities aren't alone, and we do have a community that is very strong and powerful and motivating, but not for the reasons that they think we're motivating. You know,
thank you so much for having me, and you can find me anywhere, blind and bored.
I'll put the links in the description of the YouTube video because this is going on YouTube and TikTok, so I'll tag you and everything.
Awesome, thank
I
you so.
don't know. I don't know when the episode is going to be uploaded because, like
No
I said,
problem.
I have college and everything. But it will definitely be uploaded in the next few weeks, hopefully.
Well, college is important. Prioritize that.
Yes, absolutely. I'm already getting emails from the college talking about this is your syllabus.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. But with that being said, guys, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Emotional Expression.